She hadn't rested, not for a single moment. The night dragged on, bitter, unyielding. Every step Leela Wren took felt like it stripped flesh from bone. Thorns snagged her skirt, rocks cut into her bare soles. Her breath came in ragged gasps. Agony, chill, dread, all knotted together. No plan, no guide, no spark of hope. Just one thought, hammering in her mind. Keep going or perish. Returning, that meant torment, and she had endured that far too long. Mason Holt's estate wasn't just a cage. It was a place where spirits were shattered, where a young woman like Leela was valued less than livestock. By day, he made her pour drinks. By night, he dragged her to that dim room, no windows, just a soiled cot, and the click of a lock sealing her in. He called it affection, but when she wept, he sneered. When she tried to flee once, he split her lip, held her under the creek until her vision darkened, said she'd never get another shot. But tonight, somehow, the side gate was unlatched. Maybe a careless ranch hand, maybe fate flickered. She didn't pause to question. She bolted, down the dusty trails, past the stables, over the ridge. Her chest burned, her legs quaked, but she pressed on. Behind her, hounds bayed, voices shouted. She didn't glance back. The moonlight barely lit her way, just enough to dodge branches before they slashed her, just enough to skirt the deep ruts in the earth. Her arms bore welts, her throat stung where Mason had gripped her the previous evening. Her cheek was scraped from a tumble near the boulders. Still, she ran. Hours dragged by. The sky lightened. Dawn was nearing, but the terror lingered. Then she heard it, the rush of water. A stream. If she crossed it, maybe, just maybe, she could vanish. No time to hesitate. She staggered down the slope, slipped once, steadied herself, then waded into the icy flow. It struck her like a blow. The cold stole her air. She forced her arms to churn, dragging herself forward. One stroke, then another. Halfway across, her strength faltered. She choked on the water, coughed, kicked once, then twice. But the weight of the night, the frost, the pain, it pulled her under. Her fingers scratched at the surface. Her mouth gaped, but no sound escaped. All she saw was the faint sky above, blurred by water and tears. She sank. No one knew her name. No one would search for her. And as the current swallowed her, one thought lingered. Maybe this is better than going back. Maybe destiny hasn't finished with me yet. But then, a shadow. Heavy boots crunched on the pebbles. A horse snorted. Caleb Reed hadn't expected to see anyone that morning. He was just watering his gelding, same as every day since he claimed this stretch of barren land. But when he saw the ripples, the flailing hand, the auburn hair barely breaking the surface, he didn't hesitate. He tipped his hat back, shed his jacket, and plunged in. Now, here's the question. What would push a man who hadn't lifted a finger for anyone in 2 decades to dive headlong into a stream for a stranger? The water was colder than he'd braced for. Caleb Reed hit the current hard, the chill clawing at his ribs, but he kept his eyes wide. He spotted her just below the surface, her arms feeble, her body dropping like a rock. He reached her, hauled her up, her hair twisting around his fingers. Her eyes were half shut, dim, fading. He fought the current, struggling to keep them both afloat. His hat clung to his head somehow, like it was part of him. Maybe chance, maybe routine. On the bank, he laid her on the grass. Her lips were gray. Her chest barely stirred. Caleb leaned in, pressing hard, forcing water from her lungs. She gasped, coughed violently, then turned and spat out a mouthful of stream water. That sound, that first breath, it could stir a man's soul back to life. Her eyes fluttered open. Panic, pain, confusion. She tried to rise, but her arms buckled. He steadied her shoulder. "Easy now," he said, voice gravelly, calm. She blinked, trembling. "Please, easy. It hurts." Caleb paused. That voice, The way she said it, not just pain, something deeper, something he'd heard on grim nights long ago when battle scars still haunted him. He draped his jacket over her. "You're safe now. Just breathe." She glanced around, still wary. Where am I?" He nodded toward the far hills, about 5 miles from town. "Too close." "If someone's after you?" Her eyes widened. She nodded, shaking. "Yes, they won't stop until they find me." Caleb studied her. She looked young, too young for such fear. The marks on her arms told a story she likely didn't want to share. He stood, scanned the horizon. Quiet. Just the stream, the horse, the breeze rustling the brittle grass. He looked at her again. "You need rest. Then you tell me what trouble you brought to my stream." She nodded slowly. "I didn't mean to bring trouble. I just wanted to live." Caleb exhaled, long and slow. He hadn't planned to care. He hadn't planned to save anyone today, but something in her eyes held him there. She closed them, murmuring something too faint to catch. Maybe a name, maybe a plea. He sat beside her, watching the sky turn amber with dawn's first light. He wondered if saving her had just invited a tempest to his door. The old fighter in him knew. Calm never lasted. And he was right. Not far off, 3 riders had found her tracks by the stream. They were closing in, and one of them was grinning. Caleb heard it first. Hooves, slow, then quickening. He turned toward the ridge. Dust curled like smoke. He knew that sound too well. Men hunting something, or someone. He walked to Leela. She was sitting now, pale, still shivering. "You said they wouldn't stop." She nodded. 3, maybe more. Caleb sighed. "Then we don't have much time." He helped her up. She swayed, but found her footing. The breeze lifted her hair for a moment. She looked almost calm. But that calm shattered. A lone rider broke from the ridge, charging fast. A young man, rifle slung across his saddle. His face was hard, brimming with reckless pride. He spotted Caleb and sneered. "Old man, you chose the wrong day to play savior." Caleb didn't reply. He stood steady, hands near his belt. The rider dismounted, smirking. "Hand her over. I might let you walk away." He eyed Caleb like a coyote sizing up a tired wolf, unaware the fangs were still sharp. Leela stiffened behind him. The rider stepped closer, cocky, careless. Caleb's voice was even, low. "Son, turn around and ride off." The rider laughed. "What are you gonna do, Grandpa? Bore me to death?" Caleb's gaze didn't waver. In one fluid move, he stepped forward and swung. His fist cracked against the man's jaw. The sound echoed over the water. The rider staggered, more stunned than pained. His hand reached for his pistol. Caleb was quicker. He drew his revolver, cocked it, aimed at his chest. Touch it, and you won't have a hand left. The rider froze, his bravado fading. He glanced at Leela, then Caleb. Caleb's voice dropped lower. "Go home before I change my mind." The man spat, grabbed his hat, and back to his horse. He didn't look back. Caleb lowered the gun, exhaled, and glanced at Leela. The fight was done, but something in his chest beat louder. Her eyes were wide. She whispered, "You could have killed him." Caleb met her gaze. "If I had to, I would. But not today." He holstered the revolver. For a moment there was quiet, just the stream, the wind in the grass, the horse grazing nearby. But peace in the West, it comes at a cost. Beyond the ridge, 2 more riders were closing in, and they weren't coming to talk. So, what happens when the hunter becomes the hunted? Take a breath, grab a cup of coffee, and stay with me for the next part of this tale. Tell me, what time is it where you are, and where are you reading this from? Caleb knew that punch wouldn't end it. Men like that, they never back off. They return, angrier, with backup. He turned to Lila. "We need to move." She nodded, still trembling. Her face was ashen, but her eyes were firm. She knew what was coming. Caleb whistled for his horse. The animal trotted over, ears flicking. He helped Lila up, then swung up behind her. The morning sun cut through the haze as they rode across the open plain. Hooves thudded on dry earth, mingling with distant crow calls. For a moment, it felt almost serene. Then came the sound. Hooves, far off but gaining fast. Caleb cursed under his breath. They're coming. He urged the horse faster. Lila gripped him, her heartbeat racing against his back. Dust trailed behind as the chase began. Over the next rise, Caleb spotted a tight gully ahead. If they could slip through, the trees beyond might hide them. He tugged the reins, guiding the horse down the rocky trail. Stones skittered under hooves, the air thick with strain. Behind them, the riders appeared. One was the young man from before, his face swollen, seething. He shouted something Caleb couldn't make out, raised his rifle and fired. The shot zipped past Caleb's arm. Lila gasped. Caleb spun, fired once. The echo rang through the gully. The first rider tumbled from his horse, the sound of his fall lost in the wind. The second kept coming, shooting wildly. Caleb aimed, fired again. The bullet grazed the man's shoulder. He dropped his rifle, cursing in pain. Only one remained. That last rider slowed, eyed the fallen, then Caleb. His nerve flickered out. He turned his horse and vanished into the dust. Caleb lowered his gun, breathed out. Lila looked back, eyes wide with shock. "You killed him!" Caleb's voice was steady, almost weary. "He'd have killed us." They rode on until the gully opened to a quiet stretch of land. The air smelled of dust and warm grass. Lila's voice broke the silence. "Where do we go now?" Caleb pointed to the distant peaks. "My cabin. No one comes there anymore." She turned to him. "Why are you helping me?" Caleb didn't answer right away. His gaze stayed on the horizon. "Because someone helped me once, too." The wind rose, carrying the scent of earth and smoke. Every Western tale has a lull before the storm. This was no different. They thought they were safe, but back at the ridge, a shadow watched. A man in a dark hat sat on horseback, staring down at the empty gully. He grinned. Mason Holt had found their trail. "So, tell me, what would you do if the past you fled was already at your doorstep?" The sun was dipping low when they reached the old cabin. It stood silent, between two slopes, half overgrown with brush, but sturdy, like it had been waiting for someone to return. Caleb helped Lila down. Her legs wobbled as they touched the ground. She scanned the quiet. "Is this where you live?" Caleb nodded. "Ain't much of a home these days, but it'll do." He pushed the door open. The hinges creaked. Inside smelled of dust and old leather. He set his gun belt on the table, then turned to her. "Water's in the bucket. Rest inside. I'll keep watch." She frowned. "You think they'll come?" Caleb leaned against the doorframe. "Mason Holt's lost men before, but never pride. He'll come." Lila's gaze dropped. "If he does, I'm done running." Caleb gave a faint smile. "You've got more grit than most men I've met." For a moment, neither spoke. The stillness of the land filled the space between them. Days passed. The cabin stirred back to life. Lila patched the cracked shutters. Caleb mended the corral. Slowly, the place felt alive again. She started to laugh sometimes at small things. He started talking more about old trails and battles he wished he could forget. One evening, Lila stood on the porch watching the sunset. "I never thought I'd feel calm again." Caleb joined her. "Calm ain't found. It's built, day by day." She turned, smiling softly. "Can we stay here like this?" He looked to the hills. "As long as we keep breathing, we can try." Behind them, the sky glowed crimson and gold. Somewhere out there, Mason Holt was still hunting. But the fear, it had shifted. It no longer loomed larger than them. Sometimes life in the West was more than survival. It was about remembering why you kept going. It was about standing firm when the world tried to crush you. Maybe that's what courage really is. Not the shootouts, not the chases, but the quiet choice to rise after everything tries to crush you. So, what does courage look like in your life? What would you fight for even when the odds scream to give up? Tell me, what time is it where you are? And where are you reading this from? Another tale's waiting out there,